Flyers Weekly, and we are so excited to welcome Jim Paxson to the show. Jim, welcome home.
Yeah, thanks, Alex.
50 years ago, you come in onto this campus as a freshman. Here we are in Frericks, and some things look the same, other things look different. What was your first memory of being a Flyer and being here at UD?
I think the first memory is when I first had my first practice at the arena with Coach Donaher in '75. But I'm very excited to be here. My parents met on this campus, and Tom Frericks was a good friend of the family. So there's just a lot of connection that I've had through the years with UD.
You mentioned the history and sort of the family affair. I know you got to take in the exhibition game against Bowling Green State University. How exciting is it to walk around the arena and sort of feel that embrace of community?
It's awesome. Even before I played here, I was down on that court for some different games, and my dad, growing up, took me to games here at the Fieldhouse and the arena before I even went to UD. And there's still a lot of familiar faces that I've seen over the years, and when I've come back to visit family, and I've gone to a game occasionally, and unfortunately through my job I didn't have as much time to come back and really see games live. But UD Arena, it's a special place, and I think even the current players will tell you that.
Let's talk about that job, because you had a tremendous career and your time in Portland, and then late with the Boston Celtics. You get into the front office and three different teams, and the Cavaliers and the Blazers, and then most recently with the Chicago Bulls. You feel like it's almost a little full circle, and now this new role that you're taking on here at UD?
Yeah, a year ago when I left the Bulls, and they treated me great, and I really enjoyed my time there working with my brother and the ownership group. But I didn't really think of that, and when Neil and I started talking last spring, and then with Anthony, it definitely feels like a full circle moment.
With the title and senior advisor for basketball operations, what are you going to be doing? Because I think our fans sort of have this impression when they first see it as general manager, but it is sort of similar in front office role.
Yeah, I'm a support person in the front office, and Neil and his staff and Anthony and his coaching staff, I feel already have a good process in place. It's just navigating the landscape that hopefully will settle down in the next year or two. And I think my biggest value is going to come from two main areas: is relationship with agents, and to be able to get information early for our coaching staff so that they can start evaluating players, start getting information on players. And then for players that potentially are NBA ready or not ready, to be able to pick up the phone and talk to people in the league that I trust, that can say, hey, he's on our board, he's somebody we're interested in. So that information can help for roster construction for next year, when hey, a certain player may be leaving for the pros.
I want you to put on sort of your front office hat and what your time was with the Blazers, the Cavs, and the Bulls. Is there a similarity to the transfer portal to what you used to see with NBA free agents?
Definitely, and one of the things that the first thing when I sat down with the coaching staff yesterday and had that conversation is that they have a similar type of free agent board for the portal already started for this year, and collecting information, looking at players, and the more, it's like anything else, the more information. When I was general manager in Cleveland, the more people you had at different layers that can get you information that's worthwhile, the better chance you have in making a good decision. And so, yeah, there's a lot of similarities with that. And with roster construction, it's in the college level, the premium is perimeter, like ball handlers, shooters, and then bigs. Bigs are always a premium, and you have to have your resources financially to be able to go get those players.
Roster construction. Amongst sort of what I think now fans are looking at, and what is crazy now, college basketball, and so many players jumping place to place. How important is retention a part of all of that, and trying to keep the pieces that you had?
It's the biggest focus, and Neil and I talked about this with Kobe Barea when he left that year to go to Kentucky, and we want Dayton to be a place where if a player is developed here, we find a way to keep him. And it may sound arrogant or cocky about it, but I think, based on the financial resources Dayton does have, that going forward that they can make that happen. And so that was the other thing that attracted me, is that, once you get a kid here on campus, and if money isn't the issue, they're not going to leave. I just think that they enjoy the experience here, and what they have at Dayton and the experience, just their game experience, is so much different than so many other programs of teams they play in their conference.
I thought it was interesting. Before we turned on the cameras, I had asked a question about sort of players being represented, and you highlighted that fit is key amongst some of that representation. And yes, of course, like there's that dollar figure there, but there's got to be a group that has some sort of safety of understanding of where that player's going, which is kind of the old makeup of what we know college basketball.
Yeah. And to your earlier point, talking about new players, they have 8 new players this year. And, one thing is, like, the fan base back in the day, they would know a kid comes in on a freshman and they're going to get to know him and see him grow as a player for 3 or 4 years that he's at Dayton. It's different, but again, to that fit, I think, like last night in the exhibition game with Montgomery and Jones, like the way they play fits how Dayton wants to play. And so I think the fans will embrace the changes. It'll take them a little bit of time to get to know the players, but if they compete and play at the level that Anthony and his staff want them to compete at, and play the way they do defensively, especially with this group, I think that part will be embraced by the fan base quickly.
What are you looking forward to most in your new role?
To make a difference, to really be able to make a difference. As I said, there's already a good system in place, and if I can bring value and some expertise and move the needle forward for them, and what I'd say to the fans and the supporters is that, this team that went to the NCAA a few years ago, that run where COVID shut down that team, is that I believe that even within these new rules and the new environment, that Dayton can get back to that level consistently again. And there's a good story to tell, especially with the number of current players, former players that are in the NBA right now.
Let's talk about some of those players, because amongst Obi Toppin, what we saw last year in the NBA Finals and what he's been able to do with the Indiana Pacers. Toumani Camara, of course, the Portland Trailblazers are a team that you have rich history with. They make a big decision on his future and his extension. And then you've already highlighted Kobe Barea, and amongst sort of, even what we're excited to see in Deron Holmes now and his first year with the Denver Nuggets. Was there also some excitement from what you've seen with Dayton here in the last couple of seasons of being like, hey, like, we're going to continue to ride this train, and what Coach Grant's already established?
Yeah, I believe there is a story to tell, and even with the agents, I mean, typically the agents are looking for the best place and hope for the most money, but fit is really important too, and where they're going to get the best opportunity to grow. And part of that growth is eventually getting a chance to play in the NBA. And Anthony's got his own history as a longtime head coach, but also spending a couple years at Oklahoma City. And the other thing that really intrigued me is that I've always from afar, had a lot of respect for Anthony. And I was so thrilled when he got the job, because my own belief about this program is having a former player that knows the community and knows what it's about is huge, and not just hiring somebody that wants to get the next big job. And Anthony has showed by his commitment here and what he's done that he meets all those principles and characteristics of doing that. And I look forward to working with him and his staff because I have a lot of respect for him.
I have to ask you, as just a Daytonian, what were the pickup games like at the Paxson house?
Well, if I let my brother get in the game, that was the big thing. But we didn't really have a lot of sibling rivalry because we were 4 years apart in school, 3 years in age. But the story I tell is my senior year at Dayton, we went up to Notre Dame, and we were up 10 with 10 minutes to go. I had 30 points. They were #1 in the country. We ended up trying to stall. It didn't work. They beat us. But I got a standing ovation when I left because they were all hoping that John would be as good as I was. So, but that was, a thrilling moment for me. But my brother had a great career, and he always tends to bring up those championship rings that he has, and I don't have any of those.
It was a thrill talking with you here today. Look forward to seeing you as we move forward with the season. Jim, thanks a lot.
Okay, thank you.